A lot of our small business community are using an ERP or a new cloud-based business system technology for the first time. And today, we're going to unpack for our small business community when it might make sense to switch from a smaller system like QuickBooks to a larger ERP option such as NetSuite. So thanks so much, Paul, for joining us. So when you are working with our small business clients and they may be on, let's say, a QuickBooks system, what are some signs that they may be outgrowing that system?
Well, a few things come immediately to mind, and one of the big ones is reporting. QuickBooks is very limited in the types of reports that it can perform and the types of drill downs that it can provide to business owners and managers. QuickBooks can be made to produce these reports eventually, a lot of the times, after extensive customization, scripting, plugins, third-party solutions, data traversing, third-party portals, you name it. You have to extract the data out, throw that data into Excel, manipulate it, massage it how you want to filter it, etc. Using QuickBooks, in the QuickBooks model, it's very tough to customize your reports and your data. Now, when you move to an ERP like NetSuite that's cloud-based, which is what we're talking about here today, you can create customized reports within NetSuite. So you can just click a button, and here's the data that you want to see in real time, exactly how you want to see that data. So that's one of the big things all businesses at all levels, small, medium, mid-market, enterprises, will see immediately with a switch from QuickBooks over to NetSuite. As a small business owner, you just can't make decisions off data that's not in your business system. And sometimes you have very limited data too in the QuickBooks model, where you can't, as a manager, really dig down in and extract the data that you need.
Gotcha. And so, when you're an organization that might be a pain point, but you still aren't quite ready to go to a bigger ERP system, what are some things that you can do, or maybe some bolt-on applications or technologies that might be able to help you kind of scale slowly?
Well, yes, of course, that is one of the nice things about starting with QuickBooks when you are very small and really just first starting out in business for the very first time. QuickBooks has a lot of small software bits that can plug into it. Now, I'm speaking here about the online version of QuickBooks, not the desktop version. So, QuickBooks has their own QuickBooks App Store-like web page, and you can see if your program will integrate with QuickBooks, and you can integrate in the back and see if you need a KPI or a different type of metric. You can utilize an application to come in and help you extract that data from QuickBooks and put it into a dashboard. Of course, there's additional costs with all of these third-party apps that you're using, and you always have trouble traversing your data from QuickBooks into these third-party applications. And then when you want to get more complex, people would that are on QuickBooks typically will use a software like Tableau for business intelligence. And so, yes, you can find versions of software such as that could integrate into your QuickBooks environment. So QuickBooks gets you to where you need to go in the very beginning of your business journey and helps to mitigate costs in the meantime. That is, until your business is ready to afford a more robust and much more powerful and scalable business system like a NetSuite ERP.
Right. And I assume talking about just budgeting, that can be a big risk associated with kind of jumping into a full system, like NetSuite for those within the small business community that might not have a ton of capital on hand. Is that what you see out there in the marketplace?
Yes. A lot of times, we've taken our clients through a software selection and evaluation process, and we'll go through the entire selection process. and we'll get our client to the very brink of a software selection. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes, they'll inform us that, hey, you know what? We have a cash flow problem right now. And it's not serious for the software selection process. However, we as a business, we understand what software we want to go with. But we're going to need another 6 to 8 months to raise the additional capital to be able to move this implementation project forward. And I really think it's smart to do that instead of just trying to spend money you don't have as a small business. And then all of a sudden you need to spend more capital, because if another business exigency arises for a small business, a mom and pop shop, and then something else comes up, an emergency crops up, and now the ERP that maybe you shouldn't have migrated to just yet becomes for you an operational problem. So even for a smaller organization, taking into account organizational change management is a priority for a successful QuickBooks to NetSuite migration.
Absolutely. So what exactly is the value of NetSuite for those of us that are small business owners and just kind of learning about it? I can imagine small business management teams saying things like, hey, we're happy with QuickBooks for the temporary near-term future for the time being, but what kind of value would a more robust system like NetSuite bring to a small business organization like ours?
Well, I think that's a great question. And for the very smallest of businesses, all the way up through the mid-market and even on through to the enterprise level, NetSuite provides a lot of great functionality and capability to small business owners. The NetSuite UI and UX, the user interface and the user experience, which is completely customizable with all of your own customized portlets, reports, and dashboard items immediately to hand, it allows you to track any inventory from within the NetSuite system as opposed to QuickBooks, within which you can't track your inventory, and even if you could, the inventory levels are very difficult to keep accurate. QuickBooks doesn't have the capabilities to perform advanced revenue and inventory management unless you have bolt-on third-party applications. And with NetSuite, you have reporting built right in. You have purchasing, revenue management, financial management functionality, everything. Let's say you require inventory figures. Let's say that I would like to call up some information from a sales order, or I would like to take a quote and convert it to a sales order and tell my warehouse to build the item or ship it. And it can do all of that in the same place. Your one system of truth, your one system of record, NetSuite ERP. QuickBooks is a starter system for small mom-and-pop type businesses. It's the type of application that a single person can go out there, hang out their shingle and say, hey, I just started my business today and I need to manage some really basic finance use cases. That's the most important thing. And that's what QuickBooks takes care of. It takes care of that very first few months very well. However, it is not a robust, feature-complete ERP like NetSuite by any means.
Right. And so, looking at NetSuite licensing and implementation costs from a top-line cost perspective, what's the difference between the cost of a system like QuickBooks and the cost of a NetSuite business system, a true cloud-based ERP?
Look, I think it's a super question, and it's one that is commonly misunderstood in that both the TCO, or the total cost of ownership of QuickBooks, and the expense of NetSuite are both under and overstated, respectively. So QuickBooks is very inexpensive in the short term, yes. However, take it from a QuickBooks running small business owner myself, QuickBooks has its quirks and foibles, and you nearly invariably, and this is for even the very smallest of organizations, you frequently have an outside resource or a third-party accounting firm or an accountant or a freelance bookkeeper or even in-house on-staff accounting or staff members maintaining and running QuickBooks full-time. So you need to account for those expenses when you come to formulate your comparisons. SCG Team has a lot of great information out there about NetSuite pricing, and there are lots of super financing options like deferred licensing payments, like discounts like bundling with third-party applications on your initial SOW. There's a lot of promotional discounts and incentive options that can bring the cost of licensing and implementing NetSuite ERP down significantly. Now, QuickBooks has a much lower price point, at least initially, as befitting a mom and pop oriented small business, very small business starter software. However, most organizations are not really considering the true cost of maintaining and licensing, not to mention staffing their QuickBooks implementations. There are real cost considerations to weigh, especially when you consider QuickBooks' new licensing model. Depending on how many users you have, the total cost of ownership and the licensing costs can really go up quickly, as Intuit does sell QuickBooks licenses in blocks now. Also keep in mind that depending which version of QuickBooks you have, your costs can increase quickly as well because there's multiple versions of QuickBooks. If you upgrade to an enterprise level, it can quickly get to the point where you are, let's say, at around 9 or even 10 grand a month in QuickBooks licensing fees and monthly access charges, which is really, to me, it's really quite expensive, keeping in mind that an organization is not really getting that much out of QuickBooks for a cost that may indeed easily be more than a much more robust and scalable ERP like NetSuite.
So it sounds like you really have to work with a team that knows the ins and outs of the NetSuite system and resources that can make your organization ready to really optimize your business processes using NetSuite, so that the NetSuite system can really help you to be more productive and to increase revenue.
I mean, that's exactly right. It's really all about even a very small organization, even a mom and pop, knowing and realizing from day one, look, what is the ROI that we're going to realize from working with a true cloud-based ERP like a NetSuite? What's the budget for that in year one? All right. So what am I expecting to be my returns out of years 2 and 3? Maybe it's paid off technically in 3 years. How long does it take me to get a positive cash flow, positive return on my business leveraging a cloud-based ERP like NetSuite? Because now I see that my business is more efficient. My business processes are optimized. Everything is codified in the system, the one system of record, the one system of truth. And now I'm generating more business and new business.
And what can you say, Paul, about the fact that NetSuite, unlike QuickBooks, is a cloud-based ERP system? What about companies that, let's say, are using QuickBooks, but precisely because of their use of QuickBooks, they are siloed within other areas of their organization, and this siloed data might not be ready for a cloud migration? Do you ever see that out there in the marketplace?
That's exactly right, and really QuickBooks is one of the big problems with that data silo and data migration issue. It's very hard to extract data out of QuickBooks. You can get your fundamental data like your chart of accounts, but let's say if you you build your bill of materials or your BOM within your QuickBooks, especially I'm speaking about especially QuickBooks Online, which is very heavily utilized. It's a great product. It's just when we're talking about migrating your data or connecting your data or integrating, It's really hard to do that in your system, in their system. It's very difficult to extract that data out. A lot of times you have to hire a third party service, a third party app that plugs in. There's mappings. Not all the data elements are exposed. A lot of times you have to go out and hire a freelancer or a third party. There's a lot of people available out there that can work on QuickBooks, but they all have different skill sets. There's a lot of different marketplaces to find these folks. There's everything from a smoky back room, dirty alley in the bad part of town, wrong side of the tracks, to some kind of online marketplace for freelancers and QuickBooks talent. And all that costs money, all that costs time. It's trouble. It takes time to vet. It's really hard to get really good, honest reviews about these freelancers. We've had a client last year. They had to go out and hire a third party to be able to extract their data, and even then, our team still had to spend a lot of time, our BA team, our business analyst team, in cleaning their data up.
Wow. So it is even an additional cost at that point.
Yes, that's exactly right. And Intuit, QuickBooks, they don't help you. As a small business owner, QuickBooks, Intuit, they don't provide any service to say, hey, we'll help you out. We'll help you migrate your data. And the reason is simple. They don't want you to leave. They don't want you to leave, so you're locked in, your data's locked in, and that's a real problem for a company of any size. Even the very smallest of companies want to have that data portability that they don't have with Intuit QuickBooks.
Wow. So left out high and dry by the very friendly software vendors that we sometimes work with. So what are some signs when you are ready to migrate? Some steps to take when it comes to, let's say, I think I'm ready for NetSuite, but I'm not sure because I'm a small business owner and I wear a lot of hats, and I'm certainly not a software expert. What's the first step to know that you and your business might be ready for NetSuite?
Well, that all really starts out with your business is outgrowing the system that you currently have. You're outgrowing QuickBooks in every dimension, in multiple dimensions. It goes back to, hey, look, we as a company, we need better reporting. Hey, we can't manage our inventory now. We have a lot of inventory, and we may not have a third-party system. Maybe the total cost of ownership, if we're looking at that third-party system, is just too much. Maybe we manage our inventory and our financial accounting records with Excel spreadsheets, and we need to be able to keep better records than that. We have a growing staff, and we are onboarding new employees. Maybe we need to manage some HR stuff. When you don't have a third party taking care of that, maybe you have some business needs in multi-currency, multi-subsidiary management. Maybe you want to go international, or you are operating internationally. Maybe you're bringing things in. You have duty fees, landed costs. There's very complicated, advanced shipping and fulfillment requirements within your organization. So there's just a lot of additional items that can get very noisy and very difficult and very expensive to maintain inside of an Intuit QuickBooks implementation. Many organizations find that as they scale, they need a software where they can keep all of their business and financial data in one place. One system of record, one system of truth, where they can easily take a snapshot of, hey, this is where our business is situated at this point in time. In real time, we can look at all of our accounts, all of our operations, all of our inventory. We can see where everything is. And it's in these growth spurts where you have operational failures. That's where you kind of start to see those pain points emerging, where your business is growing, or your business is growing too quickly. You can't keep up using the software that you have. You need to use something else. Many organizations, when they reach that point, they're not sure if the present is the right time. Now, that's something that the SCG team can help them with by performing an evaluation to say, yes, based upon your retail sales or your online sales or whatever channel, omni-channel, your business is selling in, maybe we have highs of the first 3 months of the year, maybe we're so busy the next half of the year, or perhaps we're slowing down due to seasonal concerns or seasonality. So we can help the business evaluate, and it's always a good time to bring us in to say, hey, let's look at the company, let's evaluate now, how quickly do you need to move? We can help put those data points into perspective and help your organization to determine a total cost of ownership. So you can start today by saying, yes, I know that my business needs to do this, but I want to wait for that evaluation because I want to make sure that NetSuite is really the correct move for my company, and I want to make sure that we have the correct budget for licensing and implementing NetSuite. And of course, the SCG team has provided a lot of complimentary pricing quotes online, pricing calculators. We have a NetSuite buyer's pricing guide, a lot of information to help with those decisions.
Okay, I think that makes a ton of sense, especially for the small business owners within this community that may be just comfortable with knowing what is the price at the end of the day. A lot of the time, for bigger organizations, they can just go for an additional funds approval of $100,000 or more on their implementation budgets. That's generally not what we're talking about with small businesses. It is a much bigger risk to assume. So I wonder if you could give us some drawbacks of a system like NetSuite, or something that you've seen in this specific comparison that might be some considerations for a small business evaluating NetSuite.
Well, I think some of the biggest advice that I can give, some of the best advice that I can give, and this is speaking as a NetSuite veteran, is plan out your implementation and take into account, take stock of things like organizational change management. When we're talking about, and this is in respect to even the smallest organizations, and when we're talking about NetSuite's Suite Success products and SCG team, we ourselves have worked with both Shopify Plus and with Oracle NetSuite on our own Suite Success for Shopify Plus product for NetSuite. I want to caution, and I always do caution our clients on the whole Suite Success model. There's a lot of hype that goes out there. It's what's known as an accelerated delivery model. I always explain to clients that organizational change management and planning for your migration to NetSuite is much more important. And to get that right, to make sure that your company, organization, no matter what scale, no matter what size your company's at, no matter how many employees you have, no matter what your revenues are, you need to maximize your ROI on NetSuite. And you're not going to be able to do that unless you plan for your implementation correctly, and you don't want to focus on some sort of vanity metric like we got live in 90 days or we went from zero to cloud in 120 days or 3 months or whatever it might be. You need to plan for that transition, and I think it's important to resist buying everything for NetSuite. You don't need to buy everything. Your organization doesn't have to buy everything. If I were to use an analogy, it's like when you go to buy a new car, you look at the car, you like the color, you like the engine, the wheels, the interior, It's got leather seats. It's got heated seats, but you know what? I live at the beach. I'm in Southern California. I live at the beach. I'm not sure I'm ever going to need heated seats. I live in San Diego. So, maybe I don't need that feature, right? And it's the same thing when you're looking at evaluating NetSuite. So, while we at SCG Team as a NetSuite solution provider partner, we'd love to sell you all the initial additional modules and the advanced modules, all of that. But what we want to really focus on is getting you up and running on NetSuite in the right way, at the right pace, avoiding these vanity metrics that I talked about. 0 to cloud in 90 days, or and look, I'm full disclosure. Look, there are marketing slogans that are out there. It's called marketing. But when you sit down to do an actual implementation with the client, know that organizational change management, preparing for your implementation, setting realistic go-live dates, avoiding those vanity metrics, that has to take precedence. You can say, hey, we're going to move our finance department over to the new NetSuite software. Maybe we'll have 5 finance department users on it, and then once we have that stabilized, then we're going to move our manufacturing over, stand up the advanced manufacturing module of NetSuite, or maybe we're going to spin up NetSuite warehouse management system, or WMS, and put that into a phase 2 for our distribution side of the business. So those are all important considerations to keep in mind.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Kind of a scalable walk before you run approach, if you will. So when you're going through these bigger technology changes on an implementation, I assume within a small business community that can sometimes cause some ruffling of feathers, as you just have a lot of really passionate ownership. Either it's generational, or there's been someone in that department for 40 years. So how do you help them communicate value to their teams? They might be a little bit nervous about going and using a new technology.
I think that's a very salient point, and it's something that I see over and over again in organizations as we at SCG Team execute NetSuite and NetSuite Suite Commerce projects for Oracle NetSuite clients in a wide range of industry verticals. It's something that I see over and over again, is that just like you say, when people are in their role for a really long time, there is a lot of ownership with that, and I think people feel that this ownership provides them with agency, right, and a fair amount of control. And these people are like these resources within companies they pop out of the woodwork when you hear about a new system, certainly a cloud-based ERP like a NetSuite, Enterprise Resource Planning System, and they pop out of the woodwork and they're like, oh, wait a second, I've built this, I don't want to let it go. It's a lot of the so-called "who moved my cheese" syndrome. And so you're coming in day one and you're saying, as a business owner, you have to recognize that this is a real phenomenon. It's very common. You want to call those people out, and you want to talk to them and do a lot of one-on-one work, a lot of small group work, and you want to go to each person individually and say, hey, look, we know that this is all your great work, and here's how all your great work is going to transfer over into the new system. Help us traverse into the cloud. Help us migrate over to NetSuite ERP. This is why you're important to the organization. This is why your value to the organization is actually going up. And you really need to, as a company, be able to articulate clearly to your resources that their roles are not going away. Their roles are actually going to be enhanced, because instead of spending all of their time in busy work, in spreadsheets, not being able to find their data, tracking things down, being blamed, finger pointing. Their skill sets will be leveraged and utilized in this company and without by putting together a strategic plan of action and change and company-wide adoption from day one. So from when we start talking about the new software to the day it's fully implemented, we go live and we're all using it. And to that end, the SCG team has put together a NetSuite adoption toolkit. We have worksheets and a planning guide that we use with our clients to help them, to work with them, to adopt NetSuite in the proper way. And we also provide them with training on how to get going with NetSuite and how to utilize it in the best fashion.
And how do you combat any resistance, maybe intentional or not intentional, when you are going through this process? Let's say that this particular person was on board, but now they're feeling like this is difficult software to use. It's not exactly they're used to, and it's just overwhelming to them to use this software for their day-to-day job function. How do you deal with that or triage that type of a situation during the course of an implementation from QuickBooks to NetSuite ERP?
So there's a couple of things that, a couple of processes, a couple of techniques and tools that we at SCG Team enable our clients with, that we arm our clients with to help combat these tendencies. So the first is keeping a RAID log, a risk log of project risks, dependencies. And we keep that from day one. We keep that updated. We share these documents with the client project team, no matter the size. And we also come up with a customized QuickBooks to NetSuite data migration plan. We talk about the migration strategy for all of the third-party apps that will be supplanted or replaced or carried over and integrated into the new, from the current state QuickBooks system over to the future state NetSuite ERP system. We work with the role and organization hierarchy to inform people about what their expected workload will be during the course of the implementation. These implementations are, NetSuite implementations are what we call shared implementations. We have a saying at SCG Team that we won't let you starve for NetSuite knowledge. We'll provide fish to you where necessary, but our goal is to teach you how to fish, right? To teach you how to perform your day-to-day operations using NetSuite, to teach you and your organization staff how to do their day-to-day, how to not be dependent upon engineers or consultants, and how to perform their day-to-day using NetSuite.
Yes, I can see the truth in that. Well, any final thoughts about, comparing a QuickBooks to a NetSuite ERP solution for our small business community?
Well, I would definitely think that an organization of any size, no matter how small, should always be thinking about and keep in the back of their minds as an organization just where the point is in the future. That future juncture where they will outgrow QuickBooks. And I always say to our clients that you want to start thinking about that point today. Where is that point in the future? You want to start setting money aside for that, for what is the next step in your digital transformation. You want to plan for the rainy day. You may want to start reaching out and planning for financing or the ability to obtain promotional discounts or licensing incentives because they're out there, they're available. Oracle NetSuite definitely works with small businesses to get them to be able to leverage these editions of NetSuite, like NetSuite Financials First and NetSuite Starter Edition, to really utilize these industry editions of NetSuite, like NetSuite Manufacturing Edition, NetSuite Apparel, Fashion and Accessories Edition, NetSuite Software Edition. So there's a lot of flexibility that's out there and availability that's out there, and it's really necessary to plan so that way when your organization does arrive at that point where you have outgrown QuickBooks, it's not a surprise. Your organization is ready. You've begun that process of organizational change management to prepare for the migration and the traversal to the cloud, the migration from QuickBooks to NetSuite ERP, and that you've worked on getting your data migration strategy and planning in place.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for your insights today regarding NetSuite ERP and the journey for small business owners who want to upgrade to this robust cloud-based ERP system. If you are a small business or a medium-sized business owner and you want to speak to SCG Team about potentially moving from QuickBooks to a NetSuite or a similar type ERP system, please reach out to us directly. SCG Team's contact info is below in the description. You are watching the SCG Team YouTube channel and listening to the SCG Team Podcast. So please subscribe. We put out new videos and podcasts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
When you need NetSuite, who do you call? SCG will take care of